Good evening. How does real change actually begins? Not with the kind that we read in everyday newspaper headlines. Not with the kind that starts with a big round of applause, but the kind that quietly starts in a moment of discomfort, that gradually change how life works. Before an avalanche, there is no chaos, there is no drama. There is only pressure that is building gradually and slowly, almost invisibly. Entrepreneurship also starts in that same space, not with unicorn dreams, not with IPO valuations, but in a single moment of discomfort where someone asks, are we still doing it this way? And today, we shall together explore the idea. What happens when someone listens to this discomfort, decides to reorganize and create a solution to mitigate the discomfort? Because entrepreneurial solutions, apart from solving real life problems, what they do? They travel, they gather momentum, and gradually, over the period of time, they shift how systems actually work. In economics, we learn about land, labor, and capital. And collectively, these are termed as the three factors of production. But let us just think. If these three factors are actually sufficient, then wouldn't be every place on earth with accessibility to land, labor, and capital be already thriving? But the reality portrays a different picture. So there is a missing piece, but what it can be? Is it more resources? Is it more funding? Or is it more policy? Or is it something that is less visible yet more decisive? This is where economist speaks of a fourth factor of production. But before giving away the fourth factor of production, let us just understand what this fourth factor of production does. Why is it instrumental and imperative? The fourth factor of production notices pattern. It notices repetitions. Repetitions that has been distorting the system. The same friction that is slowing down our efforts. The same inefficiencies that's been going on time and again. The same workaround that people have learned to normalize it. But why does this repetition matter? Because repetitions are hardly accidental. And repetitions signals that a system is poorly organized, it's poorly orchestrated. And when a system is poorly organized, values leaks out. Entrepreneurship begins with a moment when someone asks, do we keep managing within this system? Or what if the system in itself could work differently? That question, that is the hum. Let us think of a situation which I believe many of us, at least in the Indian context, have confronted. Stranded in a crowded railway platform, if our trains get delayed or cancelled, without proper information, without clear announcement. In such times of despair, out of frustrations, what we do? We just ask ourselves a simple question, where is my train? This had been a shared inconvenience which many of us can relate to. We have accepted to live with it, we have normalized it, and we have moved on in our lives. But until one point, when someone chose to listen to this everyday discomfort, to this everyday frustration, came up with a solution. Not a very grand technological vision, not a very rocket science, but it was a real life problem solving. And that was live train tracking based upon passenger generated data. The result was a solution, the development of an app called as Where is My Train? And I think many of us, at least in the Indian context, have heard about it, or perhaps have used it. This particular solution gained momentum. But why? Not because the solution was flashy, not because it created something very unique, very large, but because it chose to answer to solve our everyday discomfort. It reduced the uncertainty. Most importantly, it respected the user's time. From shared inconvenience to shared reliability, that was the entrepreneurial spark that it created. Now let's take another everyday problem alongside. For a long time, I would say for a very long time in fact, our everyday economic exchanges depended on one critical assumption, that we would always carry cash, that ATMs would always work, that finding change and safeguarding notes was the cost of participation. But for whom did this system actually work? Because for millions of small vendors and their customers, carrying cash was risky, expensive, and exclusionary. For a small and marginal vendor, a 10 rupee transaction mattered. But the formal financial system sometimes was incapable to handle such a trivial transaction. The entrepreneurial response to this problem did not promise to transform the economy. It started with a very modest question. What if the mobile phones that we are carrying could be used as a medium of online payment? And today, there are several online payment instruments that we are using. This solution, this mitigated our everyday economic problems pertaining to transactions. The informal transactions got recorded. Confidence became trust. What started with a workaround solution became an infrastructure. So listen carefully. Reorganize intelligently. Begin small. Reorganize the system. Reduce the friction and create the long reach. At its core, entrepreneurship rests on 4 fundamental pillars. But let us just understand these pillars by questioning ourselves. Can we do it differently? That is innovation. Are we willing to commit at times of uncertainty? This is risk, not reckless, but calculated risk. Does this create value beyond efforts alone? This is value creation. And simply, should something be confined to only one person, one moment, or should it travel? A small business, or in fact businesses, are designed to endure. But entrepreneurship is designed to travel, to grow, to go beyond boundaries, beyond borders, from its point of origin, to meet people whom it will never possibly meet in person. That is why entrepreneurship is not just a 9 to 5 hustle. It is a 24-hour grind, a mindset which gradually transforms into a behavior. Therefore, entrepreneurship is all about being resilient when nothing works out, adaptability when all assumptions fail, being resourceful when we don't have resources, to see what is obvious, to see what is beyond. This is how entrepreneurial sparks gather the energy. When enterprises start, scale is not what they are concerned with. They started probably with one prototype, one village, one classroom. But most importantly, one difficult question, one difficult conversation. When entrepreneurial sparks begin, we focus on their direction and not on their size. When entrepreneurship is anchored to solving real-life problems, profit becomes the fuel and not just the destination. Growth becomes the responsibility and not just an ambition. This is what differentiates entrepreneurship from business. Businesses ask, will this sell? But entrepreneurs ask, will this matter? And when it matters long enough, the system begins to shift. It begins to change. Inorganized work get organized. Local solutions travel, invisibly at first, and then they slowly gain momentum and create the avalanche. Entrepreneurial profits is, or you can say entrepreneurial success, is measured by profits. But the hum, the real momentum, is beyond the numbers that are represented through balance sheets. It emerges from a very simple idea, like greenhouse farming in a box. It's a very simple yet practical solution that has been solving the problems of millions of small and marginal farmers to achieve reliable agricultural practices, to mitigate their risk, to achieve sustainable farming. Here, entrepreneurship is not just about scalability or creating profit. It is about changing patterns, changing the system, creating new heights, creating new possibilities. Profit obviously keeps the engine moving, but it is the impact that gives the direction. Therefore, entrepreneurship doesn't matter how small it is, it creates a long run, long reach. And that is the avalanche that we are talking about. We are already in the hum. The hum is enveloping us. It can be anywhere, in classrooms, in our everyday work life, in laboratories. In workaround that people have learned to normalize. So tonight, before winding up, let me leave you with a thought to ponder. The next time you encounter a problem, doesn't matter how trivial it is, doesn't matter if people have accepted it, normalized it, doesn't matter if no one is questioning it. Ask yourself, how do I live with this? Or will you ask, what if it could work differently? Because future doesn't change with drum rolls. It changes when somebody decides to listen to our everyday discomfort, to our everyday frustration, and then choose to act on it, thereby creating the avalanche. Thank you.